Hey everybody, welcome to Teal Tinted Glasses version 2.10, I guess, because I keep naming these things funny. Obviously, we've been away for a little bit, so we missed some stuff, and then nothing really happened anyway, and blah, 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 blah. So here we are, though, and I'm glad that we have 6 people watching to start off the show. It makes me feel good that we can do a show and the 27th of July and people will still watch. So with me tonight is, as always, Mr. Hockey Jerk.
Ha ha ha, funny joke. Oh my god, Jerk, you're so funny.
Yeah, we even started on time. That's what happens. Like, there's nothing. That's how little's going on right now. Like, we actually started on time. All right. So, and then we lost all our viewers. Okay. Oh, we lost Jerk.
Turns out the funny joke was my internet.
Oh man.
And that was totally not on purpose.
that's all right. Yeah, Joe. Yeah, Steve Cropper, we're jonesing for hockey anything. Good to see y'all. Yeah, it's good to be back. I mean, I had a little operation, a little vacation, and I'm pretty happy to be back on the air. I've been bored out of my mind lately, so it's good to do this. So I guess I'll start with some news from today. Andrei Markov, I guess, is not going to return to the Montreal Canadiens. He is returning to the KHL. He's 38 years old, been in Montreal his entire career, if I recall correctly. I guess he was looking for like $6 million a year for the next 2 years, though.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of a steep price given how old Markov is, but at the same time, you know, when you look at his points even last year, I think he pretty much ran their power play and led their team in power play points despite the fact that he's 38 years old. So for me, it's kind of like, you know, whatever the dollar is, how do you not give him another 1-year deal considering you're going to be starved? You know, points from the blue line, yes, but just points in general, you're going to be starved for. And I think he would have made a lot of sense to stay with that team. But as we all know, speaking French is a hell of a drug.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, it's apparently if you're a remotely good defenseman, then Montreal just isn't for you. Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, like I mean, I thought the price was steep too, but you know, like you said, I mean, it's not like there's much out there that they could go and pick up, you know, unless you want to maybe roll the dice on like a Cody Franzen. But it looks like with the signings they've made, you know, he just didn't get the deal he wanted, I guess. And, you know, speaking French is a hell of a drug, but so is playing in the Olympics. And I think that, you know, that's one of the benefits to going back to the KHL now is that he can, you know, he's going to be able to play in the Olympics. And, you know, as we've said on this show many times, you know, for the Europeans, the Olympics are a lot bigger of a deal. Like a lot of those international tournaments are a much bigger deal than they are in, you know, to North American fans. I think maybe more recently North American fans care a lot more about the Olympics because it's been best on best, but I'm curious to see how interested people are in the Olympic tournament while there's actual NHL games happening.
It's going to be very curious to see. And, you know, it's Montreal is kind of an interesting situation because, you know, they lose Nathan Beaulieu. Mm-hmm. So by that respect, you could argue that they need, you know, Andrei Markov. But then at the same time, when you look at the fact that they've brought in Alzner, who can score from the point, David Schlemko, same thing, Mark Streit, same thing. It's almost like he was kind of pushed out of Montreal without really saying, get the hell out of here. I guess action speaking louder than words.
I mean, it's, you know, it's to me, I look and I'm like, well, don't you want, you know, if you have the choice between, you know, Markov and Streit, don't you want like Markov? But at the same time, when I look at Streit's, you know, $700,000 contract, it's kind of, maybe that changes things a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, you know, having Markov off the books gives them the luxury of, you know, paying like a ridiculous amount of money for Brendan Gallagher and Andrew Shaw to be the same kind of player.
So true, so true. Yeah, this team just makes no sense. I'm just looking at it, and it makes no sense. All right. Lots of signings happened while I was away, and we haven't talked. Big deal for St. Louis. Colton Parayko gets a 5-year, $27.5 million deal, 5.5 million AAV. I like this deal. Look, Parayko is one of my favorite defenseman in the league right now. I know last season wasn't, he didn't have a great season last year, but this kid's a stud. I love this kid.
Yeah, exactly. And, it kind of made life easy for St. Louis when they got rid of Kevin Shattenkirk. It almost basically said, you're here for good. But what I like about the Parayko signing, and really a lot of the other signings that we've seen in the last 2 or so weeks, is that it's one of those signings where, the first year or maybe 2 years of it, you might be scratching your head a little bit just because it's such a small sample size. But at the same time, the chance of success with this player is fantastic. I mean, if you have, Colton Parayko at $5.5 million in year 3, 4, 5 of this deal, you're sitting pretty well, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, this will be a steal by the time it's over. It might not look great immediately, like you said, but I think by the end of this is going to be one of the best value for dollar deals in the entire NHL when the deal's over.
Exactly, especially when you consider, at his young age, he's kind of an out of nowhere player. I mean, before 2015, I don't think any non-Blues fan had really known a whole lot about him. And now he's, one of the top young defensemen in the league, and probably could be an all-star defenseman if the 3-on-3 tournament didn't kind of restrict the amount of people who go to the all-star game, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There's some questions in the chat, and I've written them down, so we'll definitely get back to them. I just kind of want to fly through this stuff first, and then we can hit all your questions at once. Victor Arvidsson, Nashville, 7 years. I apparently didn't write the rest of it, but I know it's not a terrible deal. Let me go find it. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. This is dead.
It's the summer vacation episode.
It is the summer vacation episode.
It is an AAV of 4.25.
4.25, yeah, which I think is pretty good for Arvidsson, considering he's put up some decent numbers so far. Underlying numbers have been pretty good for him as well. Again, those 7 years, man, that's a crazy term, but I guess when you're what is he 20 24 you can't really complain about a 7-year deal at 24.
Yeah, and it's funny too because our buddy, our compatriot, Mr. Kevin Lacey, has he'll be the first to tell you that he has been Victor Arvidsson's biggest supporter since day one. And I have to think that when this signing came out, I have to think there was a part of him that was like, yeah, I told you so. This kid's good, and you know what? We kind of saw a little bit of what Victor Arvidsson had in the Nashville San Jose series from the year San Jose went to the Stanley Cup. Arvidsson didn't, he wasn't scoring points at a ridiculous pace, but he did have the overtime goal in Game 6 and was a very, responsible player in their lineup. And then he comes in this year and boom, boom, quadruples his point output. I mean, really, the ball is in his court. He can only go up from here. Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great deal for Nashville. Especially when you consider how starved for offense Nashville has really been since they started becoming a contender in the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the big thing obviously for this is a good deal because I think it's it's a good value. It's one of these deals that by the end of it should be a steal. And I still leaves money on the room because obviously they still have to get Ryan Johansson done, which is going to be, that should be priority one for them from this point on. You want him in camp. You don't want to risk a holdout situation. So, definitely something that you want going forward would be Ryan Johansson in the fold. And I think this deal, definitely allows for that to happen. Exactly. Especially when, if you're Nashville, I think you have to be a little cautious with how you take things, just because, Ryan Johansson has done the holdout thing before.
Yep.
I feel like I feel like his relationship with Nashville is a little different than his relationship with Columbus, but at the same time, I feel like for Johansson, it's very easy for him to know his worth and be like, hey, if you're not going to pay me, then you're not going to get me,
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that team isn't like, when you look at, what might happen with Mike Fisher's, could retire. There's expecting an announcement on that soon. Last I read, Nashville could go from being, a team that was just in the Stanley Cup final to just completely gutted down the middle. If Rijo holds out, like, it'd be a disaster.
Seriously. And
that'd be like for a GM who, I know I've lavished a ton of praise on this show. That it'd be a disaster for him, because they'd be, that the Central Division's not going to be an easy division next year. I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think a lot of teams got better, and and there's still good teams.
And that's the thing too, is you could argue that by signing Nick Bonino, the Predators have taken steps to make themselves better and kind of get them over that hump. And it would be super unfortunate if signing Nick Bonino like created all this buzz and about matchups and 3 skilled lines and all that stuff, and then
he becomes your second line center.
Yeah, plot twist, like Ryan Johansson is going to hold out until November.
Right. Yeah. No, that'd be a disaster. So hopefully, I'm hoping for Nashville that everything works out for them. Connor Hellebuyck in Winnipeg gets a 1-year, $2.25 million. I'm kind of surprised it's just a 1-year deal. I know that some Jets fans are really, really sour on Hellebuyck right now, which, and this is something that me and Zach have said a billion times, after how long they put up and defended and, would just put up with Pavlik and defend Pavlik to the death, even though he was just like, everything said he was an awful goalie. I couldn't believe how quickly they soured on Hellebuyck. And I'm not saying Hellebuyck had a great year. Like, he didn't make the improvements that I think most people, including myself, were expecting of him. But I think it worries me that they might give up on him. You bring in a guy, they brought in
Steve Mason,
and if Steve Mason has his first good year in the team and then they walk away from Hellebuyck, like, I just think that could be such a disaster for the Jets.
And it's ridiculous, because if you go back and you look at the history of the Winnipeg Jets 2.0 in goal, it's been Pavlik, who's been okay. It's been Hutchinson, who's been okay. Hellebuyck.
Well, and in Pavlik's defense, he did have that one good stretch that got them into the playoffs that 1 year.
Right, but my point is that the goaltending has always just been okay.
Yes,
and I feel like when Pavlik had his hot streak super early, it created a false ceiling of expectations, if you will. Like, oh, this Hellebuyck guy is good. We're never gonna have problems with goaltending again. And then, like a normal rookie, sophomore, young goaltender, he came back down to earth, and those false expectations have been shattered. And I agree with you. If Mason has his usual one good year, one bad year type of situation, and they walk away from Hellebuyck, whoever picks him up is getting a stud goaltender. Yep. Drew Weber has his hockey card for a reason. There's
right.
You don't like screw around with a goaltender that good at that young. And
I agree,
especially with a guy. And
sorry, go ahead.
Especially with a guy like Steve Mason, who's notorious for the heel turn, where he gets you feeling good and then lets in a goal from center ice in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Like, it's troublesome. Like, I don't know. And it's like, Winnipeg is like one of those teams, like, I have a soft spot for. I'm not even going to pretend I don't. I have a super soft spot for the Jets. I think they have a silly good fan base, and it's bothersome that, to me, it's just like, this is a team, like, those fans deserve better, I think.
Agreed. And it's their fans. I've said multiple times too, like if if there's a game that I want to go to, only one game, and I get to pick any arena, I want to go to the MTS Center. It's the
Yeah.
it's the smallest arena in the NHL, but it's probably the loudest, at least top 5. And it's I'm with you. They have a really good team. Like their top 6 is good. Their top 4 defenseman is good. It's kind of weird how things haven't clicked there when they have so many good pieces.
But we watched that happen in Edmonton too.
Yes,
where we thought, they have so many great pieces. I think Winnipeg, I think the defense is a little bit better. They have a better defensive core, like foundation than the Oilers probably did most of the time. But it's very, very interesting, like why it's not, how it hasn't worked out for them. I don't know. It is what it is. Moving on as we run through the list. Johnny Oduya picking up a 1-year, $1 million performance-laden bonus deal. So obviously he can make more money if he hits his performance things. I'm not sure how high it can go, but it's amazing how, obviously Johnny Oduya is getting up there, but it's crazy. I remember when he was a free agent last time, and there's like a lot of fans from a lot of different teams wanted him, and now he's kind of just an afterthought. Like he just signed like in late July. Like, I don't know. It's amazing how quickly sometimes a career can turn.
Yeah, seriously, especially when, he was there for Chicago's 2 most recent cups. He played really well there, especially that third cup where, they were down to like 4 defensemen the whole series, and you just kept chugging along. And then even when he went to Dallas, I thought he kind of became the scapegoat there a little bit, even though he was still playing, I would say, relatively okay. And then as we've talked about the famous Blackhawks reunion tour of the last year and a half, he made his way back there, and obviously they the Blackhawks were looking for 1 goal and they didn't find it. So, I think it's a good signing for Ottawa. He's still, I hate to say the cliche, but, he's got 2 Stanley Cups. Like, he's used to the workload of a long season plus playoffs, and like I said, he's still a reliable defenseman despite his age. And at $1 million, if you're a team like Ottawa, who...
Why not? Yeah.
Why not, right? Especially they lose Mark Mathot, and, Frederick Claesson had a good showing, but you can never have too many good defensemen.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Vegas Golden Knights, in which case you have 9 NHL defensemen and you need to trade some of them.
Yeah, I mean, like it's interesting because like I don't know what Ottawa is. Ottawa is such a funny team to me because it seems like this is a team that on paper none of it makes any sense. Like it's completely silly. And then you look at and then you look at this team and you look at actually how they do on the ice, and it's like, hey, this team actually is okay. It's going to be a fascinating team to watch this year again, because I think that, it's a team that everyone is so quick to count out. Uh-oh.
And it's our boss.
Yeah.
And you bring up a really good point too, because I feel like Ottawa does this thing where, they're kind of okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they make the playoffs. Like this year, I thought they were okay, and whatever, maybe they would win a game in the first round, and then they went to the East Final, and then you look at 2 years ago, again, Ottawa is just kind of okay. They get some scoring from their young guys, and then the Hamburglar comes alive, and they win like 21 of their last 26 or something stupid, and make it to the playoffs. But then, you consider those, and then you consider, 2016, where I personally thought the Senators actually had a decent team, and they missed the playoffs. So they're like the weirdest team ever.
They are. Like it's a team I can never make any sense of, and anything I ever say about them is the opposite. So, if I say they're gonna be bad, they're gonna be good. Just remember that when you're betting. I know, like every round in the playoff, I said, like Ottawa's this is a facade. This is going to end, and it didn't end until the 3rd round. So,
yeah, Yeah, so if we pick them to miss the playoffs, then they're winning the Stanley Cup,
They're
obviously.
winning the Stanley Cup. There you have it. Um, um, Brian Dumoulin, this was an interesting one because there was a huge difference between his ask and the team's ask. But they did settle before arbitration. He got a 6-year, $24.6 million deal, works out to 4.1 million AAV. What did you think of this? What did you think of the difference between the team and the players ask for starters? I think the team wanted to give him like 1.5, and then he wanted like 4. I think he wanted like 4.5. Why do you think they were so far apart?
I think it's hard to say. Like I think, I believe the team tried to offer him under $2 million, and I remember seeing that, and I remember putting it out on Twitter. I said offering under $2 million for Brian Dumoulin is an insult. If you ask me, like, yes, so. Brian Dumoulin's not a household name. I will be the first to tell you that. But you look at the last 2 cup runs. That first one he was on a pair with Chris Letang and held his own finally. And then this year Chris Letang goes down, and they have some other question marks. Like with Mark Stride and that sort of thing. And nothing changes. Dumoulin just keeps doing what's expected of him, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, at least in terms of their defense, have done exactly what I said they should do in letting Daly and Strite and Hainsey go, because you know how it is. The old guy does a good thing in his last year, and then everybody panics, and it's like, we have to bring him back. So it was nice for them to kind of move on there and give some dollars to their young guys, Dumoulin and Schultz. I think it's a really good signing for Pittsburgh, who, frankly, I think it's a steal considering a player like Dumoulin. He's young. He probably could have gotten more if he was a UFA.
Yeah, I mean, he's young, and oh my goodness, like his shot suppression numbers are off the charts. Like they're silly. Like he's like elite level shot suppression. I mean, obviously he doesn't put up the points that you would want. Like again, and this is where the whole defense thing, the whole argument, it's like, oh well, you can't make a lot of money if you're a defenseman if you don't make a lot of, if you don't put in a lot of points. And his goals and his shot generation numbers aren't fantastic, but I mean, he's such a good defensive defenseman, and he logs a decent amount of ice. He deserves that. Like the idea that, like, to me, he's a middle pair. He's a middle pair guy, the idea that the Penguins thought they could pay that less than $2 million is ridiculous.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. He is a middle pair guy, but you need those guys.
Right?
Like if there's no Brian Dumoulin, sorry, the Penguins don't win the Stanley Cup this year. If there's no Justin Schultz, it's the same thing.
Right. I mean, if you look at like other teams, like where middle pair defensemen are making on other teams, I feel like the 4.1 AAV he's getting is very comparable to like a middle pair guy.
Yeah, especially because
it seems like your top pair guys are making 5 to 7. 4, I think 4 is incredibly reasonable for a second pair guy, especially with shot suppression numbers like that.
Yeah, and when you consider that the beginning of his NHL career, he spent, like I said, time with Chris Letang. It's when you're with Chris Letang, you're playing a lot of minutes.
Yeah. So I was checking out the chat quick before I move on. Robin Leonard gets a 1-year, $4 million deal in Buffalo. This has got to be his last chance, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know, man. Like, I remember when he was in Ottawa, like he was a good little piece to have, and then something between Ottawa and Buffalo, and he gets the beard and grows the hair out, and it's like, I don't know, something's not working for him.
Well, I've seen Robin Leonard's a guy I've watched since junior, and he's always kind of had that. There's two things with Robin Leonard. He's great when he's A, not angry at the world, and B, not injured.
Yep.
But getting games where both of those aren't a thing, it feels like it's just too few and far between.
Yeah.
I think,
wasn't he? I think his first game in Buffalo, he got hurt. So,
right.
you bring up
I
a
mean,
good
he's only
point.
26.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's still, he's still at RFA next year. And I think, because he's been playing in the league for so long, like he made the jump so quickly into the NHL from junior. I find like, just basically, taking advantage of call up, injury situations in Ottawa and whatnot. But like, this is a guy like he's good. Can he stay healthy? That's my question.
Yeah, and with a guy like you said, he's 26. You want a guy like that to stay healthy, and you looking at the Buffalo roster, like there's a lot about this roster that I actually like, and I think if like you said, if he's healthy, if he's not just pissed off all the time, I think
right.
I think Buffalo can potentially be a wild card team, considering they have a really high scoring offense. It sounds like Kyle Okposo is going to be back in the fold, and their decor. I mean, I would say their decor is probably the biggest question mark, but even then, Ristolainen is a stud. They have Jake McCabe. They have one more person who I can't think of off the top of my head, but Buffalo's silently been doing some good things for the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years, and I think come maybe this year, maybe next year, I think we're going to see Buffalo, turn it around. And Marco Scandella, who I'm a fan of, they also picked him up as well.
The other thing too with Buffalo is a lot of people seem to forget is like Jack Eichel missed like the first third of the season, which was a huge loss for Buffalo. Like I would be curious to see, because Jack Eichel, when he came back, like he put up a decent number of points coming back from that injury. And if I'm Jack Eichel, I'm annoyed right now because I've completely fallen into the shadow of Austin Matthews at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a really good point too. When he was, the entire time he was gone, the Buffalo Sabres just weren't, playing good hockey. And if you just looking at his stats right now, his rookie year, he had 56 points. And last year he had 57 points, which only 1 point better. But when you consider that he played 21 less games, like you as Buffalo, that's a guy that you have to, I know there were rumors, he doesn't want to play in Buffalo if Dan Bilesma there. You have to accommodate that guy because, frankly, he drives the bus on your team. Like, yes, you have other good players, but keeping Jack Eichel happy is, the key. And I think, yes, he has been overshadowed by Connor McDavid and been overshadowed by Austin Matthews, but I think he and the Buffalo Sabres can use that as a fuel to, kind of come out of nowhere and be like, oh, that's nice, $12.5 million. Well, Jack Eichel just scored 50 goals. When has McDavid done that?
Mm-hmm. I still think like, I think again, because Matthews is like, it seems like he's like the Team USA poster boy now. But if I had to pick between the two of them, I think I still want Jack Eichel over Austin Matthews. And maybe I'm stupid, but I really like Jack Eichel, and I think that because of the injury and just the year that Austin Matthews had, and of course the market that he plays in doesn't hurt. I don't know. I think people are really sleeping on Jack Eichel at this point, and I think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah, and that's the shame too, is I feel like because of that studded 2015 draft, I feel like people have been sleeping on Jack Eichel that whole time. I think like McDavid is kind of an anomaly, but I bet you if Jack Eichel is going into any other draft,
he's
before
first
or after that, yeah, he's first overall, no doubt.
He's first overall. The only person that he would not go first overall over is Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, agreed.
Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid. Other than that, Jack Eichel's number one every time, twice on Sunday, including with Austin Matthews, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I'll tell you this, he's one hell of a consolation prize.
Yeah, that he was. All right. Now that I've made all our Leafs fans, listeners that have joined us now because they're Patrick Marleau fans angry. Couple of old Sharks signed. We did have a Shark signing while I was gone. I mean, I know it's forever ago. Mirko Mueller gets a 2-year, $800,000 one-way deal with the New Jersey Devils. What's going on in New Jersey?
Jeez. Well, you know what I think it is? I think the fact that he got a one-way deal, I think it means that they envision him playing in the NHL next year and being a big part of their team. Like, don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Mirko Mueller gets top 4 minutes. And frankly, 2 years at 800,000, that's a very nice deal. And here's the thing: if Mirko Mueller reaches the potential we expected him to be, then New Jersey looks like a genius. And if he doesn't, just drop him on waivers. And if somebody
if contract in the AHL, like you said, that contract in the AHL, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like yes. I mean, you argue that the Devils gave up assets for him, and you would hate to lose that on waivers. But at the same time, this contract is key for Mirko Mueller. This is make or break, if you ask me.
I think so. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I was surprised it was a one-way deal, but again, it's a deal where it's one way. Mueller still has some waiver eligibility, so it's not like he's just gonna like go down on waivers and be gone. But he has games left to play in the NHL before he loses his waiver eligibility. But he's getting older, and those games are dwindling away at this point. But yeah, I was surprised. But I mean, obviously, New Jersey, they did give us a pretty decent haul for Mirko Mueller, a lot better than I ever thought Mirko Mueller would net the Sharks. So, obviously they have a lot of hopes for him, and it's going to be good. Lori asking, is there a way we can see what the cap is going to be at this point in time? Capfriendly.com usually has all the most updated cap figures. I believe the current cap is what?
I believe last I checked it was 75. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, 75 sounds about right. Yeah, 75 looks about right to me as I look at the numbers. Yeah, 75 million is the current cap. Matt Nieto, 1 year, 1 million in Colorado.
Oh man.
Why if Matt Nieto?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? If you're Colorado, why not, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was reading, and there was an article about this on Fear the Fin, and one of the comments on Fear the Fin is like, is Matt Nieto just one of those players where, because the analytics people love Matt Nieto.
Yeah.
But like, is this just one of those things where like the numbers just don't meet the eye test? And and I said, yeah, like everyone knows I think everyone knows my stance on analytics here. I'm a big, I don't want to say I'm a huge analytics guy, but I'm definitely a believer. But but they're a part of the deal. Like I've never been okay, well, this is what the numbers say, so clearly whatever I'm seeing with my own eyes is wrong. I think that there's definitely things that Matt Nieto does well, but the points just aren't there.
And see, that's my thing with him too, is, he like you said, analytics darling, no doubt.
Oh yeah. Possession numbers are insane.
Yeah. For Matt Nieto. Great possession. His speed is, at least when he was on the Sharks, his speed is unparalleled. But my problem with him is, he gets his feet moving, and, let's say he's in on a loan on a, right up Main Street on a breakaway, his hands are going to be in the neutral zone. Like the hands just can't do what the feet and the brain want them to do, at least in my observation of him.
Yeah, and that's kind of been my, that's been kind of the thing, AJ always says, he's Torrey Mitchell, Yeah. And I think that's a very, and I've always thought that was a very apt comparison. So it's for $1 million. I mean, why not? It's not like Colorado has anything else better going for them. And maybe, if he can, he can drive possession. So, and he's obviously going to get more opportunities in Colorado than he was ever going to get in San Jose. So, I mean, I look forward to seeing what he does next season, but I just, the points have just never been there, and I don't expect them to be, there next year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's going to have opportunity, and he's going to be playing with a good center, whether it's Nathan MacKinnon or whether it's Matt Duchene. So, he's going to have opportunities. There's not going to be anybody ahead of him to, kind of delay his development or his whatever you want to call it. I can remember so many times during the season where the Avalanche would announce their starting lineup and it's like Landeskog, McKinnon, Nieto, so they clearly see something.
Yeah. I mean, and they got him for nothing. So hell,
again,
$1 million.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Marcus Sorensen gets a 2-year, $700K deal, $1.4 million, obviously, in total. I'm happy about this. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Marcus Sorensen. I think Peter DeBoer is a big fan of Marcus Sorensen. And at $700K, I mean, this is a guy who's probably playing in your bottom 6 this year. I think out of camp.
So that's what I was going to ask you: is he a Shark or is he a Barracuda this coming year?
I think he's a Shark. See, if you look at the way that Peter DeBoer used him, especially in the playoffs, like Peter DeBoer seems to love Marcus Sorensen.
And see, that was my argument too, is, he late in the season, in the regular season, he comes in the lineup, plays really well, and then is part of the best line in the playoffs, him, Timo, and Tierney. And then, Sharks are getting desperate in game 6, and who's flanking Couture on the second line? It's Marcus Sorensen. So I think you make a very good point in saying that, coach likes him. And I ask because a handful of people that I've talked to all kind of peg him as being at best the 13th forward. And I'm kind of like,
nope.
Did you watch the playoffs?
Right. No, exactly.
His speed is an asset. I hate to say this, being that I'm Bodker's last supporter in San Jose, but he's a cheaper he's a cheaper Bodker,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like I feel like this he's on the team. Like I think he's got the inside track to make the team out of camp. I think there's a few guys that have that track. I think Timo Meier has the inside track to make the team out of camp. I feel like, I'm not 100% sure Kevin Labanc is a sure thing or not, basically, Kevin Labanc was sent back down during the playoffs. Like he didn't even suit, Marcus Sorensen passed over Kevin Labanc to play in the playoffs. I'd be shocked if Marcus Sorensen starts the year on the Barracuda, especially with the amount of openings they're going to be. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this on a later show, but I mean, there's so many, like when you look at the possible lineups, there's definitely spots to be had that aren't set in stone.
Agreed. And, I've said for, months now that if I'm Doug Wilson, I'm trying my damnedest to move Joel Ward just because of how many young players that the team has. I think, and that goes for Chris Tierney too. Like, yes, Chris Tierney accepted his qualifying offer, but Chris Tierney, as far as I'm concerned, Chris Tierney is an extra asset at this point. And if you can get your lineup, I mean, okay, Marlowe's gone, and the Sharks haven't signed anybody to replace him. It's a youth movement or whatever you want to call it. Like, if the Sharks are going to commit to the youth movement, do it. Labanc, Sorensen, Carpenter, Timo Meier. Just
O'Regan.
You need to O'Regan, maybe if there's an injury or things get really dicey at the deadline. But you have to be in or out. And Labanc is a curious case because and now I want to preface this by saying I don't think he's going to be traded or
no
whatever. But I think Labanc is like Goldobin, where he needs to play on one of the top 2 lines or he needs to be in the AHL because he doesn't really fit that bottom 6 role. However,
completely agree.
The one caveat to that argument is that Labanc has shown that he can be defensively responsible and he can be smart with the puck. But at the same time, like, if I'm Peter DeBoer, I want Labanc, who's a pure shooter. I want Labanc on Couture's left wing because we saw it work magic in the regular season. And at this point, with all the questions surrounding the Sharks, if you have something that works, keep doing it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it's going to be, I can't wait till training camp start. Not only because that means hockey is really close to being back and it's not the middle of July, and where we're like in like completely just like the destitute part where it's like, from going forward, it's like we're not even gonna have like a list of like 2 signings, and then we're gonna have to like vamp the rest of it.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so many things that I kind of want to know, and I have no idea. Other Sharks news: the Sharks hired Dave Barr as an assistant coach. Vince G asked on Twitter if Steve Spott's feet just got a little bit warmer.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think it was a hiring solely to make his seat a little warmer. I mean, I think you can never have too many assistant coaches. It's they have a guy in the press box, and it's an interesting. I don't, and maybe I just don't recall
too, right? Like Hedberg was in the press box all year too, and he's an assistant coach as last I checked.
It's very possible, but for me, I feel like the whole concept of like being in this press box, I think it provides a dynamic view on the game, and being that and me being a broke college student, I can relate to the whole sitting in the last row and seeing the play develop in my full field of view type thing. And it's you're on the bench. I mean, you make a breakout pass and you got to shoot your head the other way really quick, and maybe you miss something that happens away from the puck. While if you're up top, you can, like I said, you can see everything develop without even having to turn your head.
I think for me, as far as the Steve Spott situation goes, Steve Spott's an assistant coach. You don't hire somebody to put. It's an assistant coach, man. They're the most expendable person. Like, they're the most expendable part of the team, basically. Right. If you don't like your coach, you just fire them. You don't play around. Now, we've seen situations where an associate coach gets brought in to obviously, put a little heat under the head coach. We've seen that in St. Louis, for example. And we've seen that in a few places now where, a guy gets brought into the organization where he's obviously the heir apparent but in this situation here, I feel like if they really were serious about anything with Steve Spott, they would have just fired him already. They wouldn't have hired someone to heat up his seat. It's just, he's an assistant coach. It doesn't matter. It's not that important.
And you bring up a really good point too, because you think about in the, in the 7 years that we had Todd McClellan, how many assistant coaches did he have? Assistant, associate, whatever you want to call it. There was Todd Richards, Trent Yanni, Matt Shaw, Jay Woodcroft, Jim Johnson, Larry Robinson. Like, there's a lot of guys. Like, it's almost like a revolving door where it's like, I mean, I don't want to say it's not a serious job, because no doubt it is, but I feel like as an assistant coach, like, you can be an assistant coach for 3 years and then kind of be like, okay, that was fun, I'm going to go be an assistant coach somewhere else. Or if you're like Bob Bugner or even Todd Richards, you get opportunities to be a head coach.
Correct. Like, I don't think I'm not trying to diminish the role of the assistant coach. I'm just saying that, generally when you bring in a guy to kind of make someone's seat warm, it's generally the head coach.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, that's just, I've never seen a situation where, a guy's been brought in and it's like, oh, that assistant coach is in trouble. Assistant coaches get fired all the time.
Yeah. Oh man, the chat always providing good content. First we have Laurel and Felix talking about how I use the word caveat.
It's a good word. It's a really good word.
Yeah, and then Sleepy Mofo saying bring back Kevin Constantine.
Bring back Kevin Constantine. Kevin Constantine's coaching where, in the W right now?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Why not just bring back Ron Wilson? I mean, we already brought back Rob Zettler, so why not?
That's true. Oh, jeez. I don't think Ron Wilson's ever going to coach again.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so either. Which is unfortunate, because he wasn't that bad of a coach. No,
I just think the game's passed him by at this point. And I think that was really made evident in wherever he coached last. It was Team USA. I just don't remember what it was. Yes, Silver Tips. Correct. That is where Kevin Constantine coaches. He coaches the Silver Tips. Good deal.
Former team of Mirko Mueller.
Yes, absolutely. So I came back from vacation, and I'm going through my Twitter and trying to catch up on all the crap that I missed while I was gone and off the grid, and basically just trying not to pay attention to anything hockey and just, relax, veg, heal. And then I hear all this nonsense about the NHL expanding to Houston. So I immediately message you and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? What is this Houston nonsense? And you were like, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, well, now I've got to do some homework, which is garbage. Like, thanks a lot, hockey jerk. Right. Proving that you really are a hockey jerk. And here's what I've come up with. So I know Houston, I will preface it by saying I know that Houston has been a city that the NHL has wanted, they have, I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
They've kept their eyes on
coveted it. Yeah, it's been a city they've kind of coveted for a long period of time. But the problem was the Toyota Center, which Toyota Center, which apparently would have very good sightlines for hockey. But the problem was the NBA Rockets owner, Leslie Alexander, had been very adamant about not sharing the arena with another team, which basically forcing, making sure that the NHL could not get in. Apparently he's now selling the team, which has kind of, got a lot of people wondering, mostly just because it's summer, we have nothing else to talk about. And I think that a lot of the news around this is just writers being like, yes, we can write something about hockey. But, so that now it's kind of come up, like, would Houston make sense for, an NHL expansion? And, it's interesting because they do have a decent, market. Like, they have a decent media market, decent metropolitan market. So it's interesting. I think it's an interesting market. What do you think about Houston as a market? Like, what, do you think it's something that would be interesting, or do you think it's just hot air?
So, I think it's a little bit of both. And here's why. So, if I'm Gary Bettman, which I don't pretend to be,
okay.
Kevin does. Yes, Kevin does, and it's a fantastic impression. If I'm Gary Bettman and I'm thinking about expansion or relocation or whatever, I want the NHL to reach as far as possible. And
right.
that's why you see, there's teams in Florida, there's teams in California, there's, a team in Quebec, and you have the Vancouver Canucks. They sprawl across North America. And yes, the Vancouver Canucks are in the Pacific Northwest, but I almost feel like having an American team in the Pacific Northwest, I feel, would be an ideal scenario. And I think that goes to the same.
Absolutely. And here's the reason why. Because, yes, you have a team in the Pacific Northwest in the Vancouver Canucks, but no one's covering that team in the States. It's not like you're, I don't know this for sure, but I'm assuming, like, as far as I know, the only one that has rights for, Vancouver Canucks regional games is Sportsnet. And last I checked, Sportsnet does not broadcast in Washington State, for example.
Sadly, it does not.
So, that's the problem, right? I mean, yes, there's that presence, but in the U.S. television market, there's no presence at all.
Yeah, and it's kind of and this happens, like TV channels, crossing over, borders. I mean, it's kind of a unique thing, but I mean, and I'm sure you can correct me on this or, verify this or whatever, but do you have, because you live in Ontario, do you have some kind of NBC affiliate?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yep.
Yeah, see, so our friend, the Canadian here, has a American channel, while, me, the American, if I want a Canadian channel, I have to find an illegal stream or, go on YouTube where somebody's ripped the clip. And
well, here's the thing, though. But here's the thing, right? Like NBC, I have NBC, but I don't get like NBC Sports up here, right? Like I get the main network because as we get all the major networks up here, Fox, ABC, NBC, ABC, CBS, like we get all of that, but we don't get you can't get ESPN up here. You can't get, Fox Sports. I think you can get Fox Sports, but Fox Sports 1, I'm, just because it's Fox Sport 1, I I don't know, but I know you can't get ESPN. You're not getting any of the regionals, obviously, up here. You know, like you're not going to get like for me, for example, you know, I'm not getting an MSG up here. I'm not getting a Nesson. I'm not getting, you know, any of those channels.
Vince G says you don't want ESPN up there. Very good analysis of that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying for, you know, just for to explain, you know, this there are some similarities. Like, yes, we get NBC because NBC is an American, you know, it's a major network. So obviously, we definitely, you know, we get that up here, but we don't get like their specialty channels.
Right. And kind of another thing is like, you know, Houston, you know, they had a minor league team at one point. You know, they had the Arrows. And, you know, like you said, you know, the Toyota Center, I mean, I've never been to Texas. I don't know if you've ever been to Texas, but from everything that the internet says, you know, the Toyota Center is actually a nice venue. And again, don't quote me on this, but I think the NHL either has or would like to play some exhibition games there. So, like you said, it's definitely coveted and they've kept their eye on it. But I just feel like it's, you know, I feel like with Houston, it's, you know, you kind of have to compete with all the teams in that area, you know, like you're competing with Dallas and you're competing with Colorado and I would say even Arizona and Las Vegas kind of all in that, you know, lower, like, you know, US-Mexico border area, if you will. And that's why I kind of said, you know, I think like you cluster these teams too much and it doesn't allow you to have the sport spread as far as possible, which is why I think Seattle and even Quebec are like ideal, but I don't know. On the flip side, I think it's kind of, you know, like you said, it's definitely hot air. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, something minor happens and then, you know, everybody, you know, you have to take it and run with it in a certain direction, which, I mean, it's content. So you kind of have to, but it's like, you know, it's like, I'm trying to think of a comparable to this, you know, like, oh, okay. Like, you know, like when Patrick Marleau is at Disneyland and we say, oh, he's signing with Anaheim. Like it's stuff like that. It's the same exact thing.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, and here's my thoughts on it. Like, I think it's an interesting market because one, by going to Vegas, like you have this kind of trying to build in this Vegas, you know, this Vegas Arizona rivalry that you're trying to create. Series. Yes, the Desert Stadium series. But and if you put a team in Seattle, one of those teams has to go to the Central.
Yeah.
Whereas if you put a team in Houston, that team obviously belongs in the Central scene. You know, and it's like, okay, here's the problem with Houston though, right? Like obviously I haven't heard any notable people stepping up that will want to own this team. Now, that's important, but at the same time, nobody wanted to join, you know, nobody wanted to own the Hurricanes. And then suddenly some guy shows up and he's going to give them $500 million for the Hurricanes. So, you know, that Gary Bettman is very good at finding people to pay stupid amounts of money for hockey teams that aren't worth it.
Seriously. Like,
so,
oh man. And I think, like right after the Hurricanes owner said he was selling the team for $500 million, I think Forbes came in and was like, basically like, LOL, the Hurricanes are worth less than half of that.
Oh, they can't be worth $500 million. I know. I understand the $500 million because like, that's what obviously, you know, that's what Vegas had to pay to get in. And I mean, it's just, man, I wish I had money to just throw away like this.
Be nice, like just get all of us to like what's that team? Is it the Green Bay Packers who are like fan owned, or is that another team?
No, the Packers. Yeah, yes, I'm gonna say yes. I know there's a caveat to that. Excited to use that word now. Yes, thank you.
Nice word. Very nice word.
You know what? I don't know. I don't know enough to get into it on air. I know. Yes, in theory, yes, that's true. I don't. But I feel like there's, you know, I've been told things that, you know, yes, it's true, but it's still a scam. So.
Right. Well, and, you know, whether it's Seattle or Houston or Quebec or wherever, I think us and all the people in the chat, I think we could all do really well at co-owning this new team.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think though, like if Seattle doesn't get their stuff together though, like do you think that if they can find, Houston, um, do you think Houston could be a threat if Seattle can't get their stuff together? Like, can Seattle really just screw themselves out of an NHL team? Because it seems like I think the NHL really wants to be there, but it's getting to the point now where I wonder that, and I'm not saying this Houston thing has any steam or there's anything really, really going for them. But at the same time, you have Quebec City, which I feel like is just kind of being saved for relocation. Could Seattle find themselves for West relocation at this point?
It's very possible, and I like what you said either earlier about the divisions and that sort of thing. Because if you put a team in Seattle, you're going to have to do some finagling,
Right.
while
You
you put
have
a
to
team
kick Vegas, or you have to either send one of Vegas or Arizona to the Central. That's it. That's your only options.
and see. I almost think you could lump Colorado in with that group,
They're already in the
but
Central.
oh, that is true. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm living in the '90s.
That's okay.
But I don't know. I think especially because the Seattle prospective owner is kind of having the same kind of mindset where he's like, oh, we don't want an NHL team here until we get an NBA team, and it's like, well,
Right.
you had an NBA team. They're called the Supersonics, I think. I don't know. I'm not a basketball fan, but the point is, you had an NBA team and you messed it up. So you don't really. I mean, yes, you're going to own the arena theoretically, so technically you have the power. But at the same time, if you want people to come to your city for sports, like you
Mhm.
can't really be choosy at this point. And I absolutely think if that the prospective Seattle owner wants to continue to be, choosy, like I said, I think the NHL will absolutely be like, okay, fine, bye, and go to Houston, Quebec City, even Portland. I know the Winterhawks are big up there. I think they would enjoy an NHL team. Like the NHL has options. It's not, Seattle or bust. It's, Seattle's number one, but they have a very good list of other teams.
Portland, like I feel like the. See, now I got to look it up. I know the Moda Center is fine for hockey. Like, I know that the Winterhawks play some of they split their games between two arenas. I know one of the arenas they play in is the Moda Center, and it's, as far as I know, I feel like it's fine. It'd be fine for hockey. I don't know if it's one of those things like where, like Kansas City, for example, where it's like, yeah, it would be a good, it was a great arena for hockey 10 years ago, but now it's just a good arena like the MTS Center.
Right.
Like I'd have to see how much the Moda Center sits. But the problem again there is who is going to own the team, because yes, they have the building, but who's the guy that's going to fork over the 500 million to get an
Exactly.
expansion team?
You can't, you can't force a pen in anyone's hands. You can't say, okay, you're gonna own the team. Can we have money, please? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that. But I definitely think the NHL, they got to be thinking of something. I mean, I don't think they are content with staying at 31 teams forever, especially when you consider every division except the Central has 8 teams.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, and yeah, so 18,280. I mean, that's not terrible,
More than the
but
Sharks.
it is bigger than SAP Center. So yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. I mean, and it's also very important is it's run by the Anschutz group. So that's important too, because
they run everything.
they do run everything. They also own the Los Angeles Kings.
That's the thing. They own the Los Angeles Kings. They own the Staples Center, and I think they own 50% of T-Mobile Arena.
And and they manage a bunch of different arenas. Like Vulcan owns the arena, but Anschutz does all the management for it.
Yeah, they operate it, but I mean, not to get too off topic, but it's kind of a curious situation how they were allowed to basically 50% fund another team's arena despite owning the LA Kings,
Well, I don't know. Their arena group. Yeah, I don't know. Makes no sense. You're right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Vince G bringing up a good point. if the league really wants to keep the expansion draft spread out, otherwise you're going to, take off the other owners. Yeah, absolutely. I think they want to balance the conferences, though. I think that, they opened expansion for the sole purpose of getting 2 teams, Vegas and Seattle. And when Seattle didn't put in a bid, Gary Bettman was very unhappy. And I think that, they didn't want to put another team out east, and the Canadian dollar was definitely scary. Like, I know a lot of Canadian fans feel like, the NHL is really screwing with us. Here's the problem with Quebec City. And I know I've said this on many shows, so I'll keep it brief. Quebec City is a beautiful city. It's a huge market. The problem is there's no market around Quebec City. Whereas a city like Vegas has this metropolitan area and then this huge area of population around it to have it. Unless you're going to fill the arena with squirrels and chipmunks, there's not a whole lot going on around Quebec City. It's Quebec City and then a bunch of forest. So, I don't know. What kind of group would you need to own a hockey team? One with huge pockets that like losing money. Sports. I mean, you don't own a sports team to make a profit. You own a sports team as a passion project, and so you have to have a group that's not only has deep pockets but is willing to lose some of that money. Yes, some teams do absolutely make money, but I think that for most owners, they don't buy a team to make money. They buy a team to own a team. It's a plaything for them. So, yeah, Rob's saying Milwaukee's a sleeper for expansion with a new arena opening there, and it's designed for hockey. I mean, you look at, but Kansas City, we said the same thing about Kansas City. Kansas City has a hockey arena built there forever. And there's no team there still,
Yeah, and it's the same thing, and it's just, like you said, it's the same thing with Quebec City. Quebec City's got a fully functioning NHL arena. They played
beautiful.
Yeah, they played World Cup qualifying games there last year, but like you said, it's a forest, so
yeah,
there's not really a whole population. And I mean, I've never been to Canada, so this is only a best guess, but I think a reason why the 1.0 Jets didn't work out was the same kind of thing, where the population is so, iffy, especially in the cold winter months. I imagine not a lot of people want to, leave the house.
I mean, it was more of an issue. It was definitely a Canadian dollar issue, and it was just no one wanted to build an arena issue. It was the other problem for Winnipeg.
It
was an arena issue. No one wanted to build it. They just could not get a new arena built, and they could have. I guess they could have stuck around there and had it be Nassau West, but they decided not to.
Did you see that the Islanders are playing a couple preseason games at Nassau?
I feel sorry for them.
I think they miss. It's like the Barclays Center is their new girlfriend who they thought was better, and then they're like, "Oh, Nassau, you were the one for me." And Nassau is like,
"Oh, Barclays awful.
Barclays sucks. They need to leave there."
They screwed that up so bad. Like, oh man, yeah, I don't know. It's just.
Can you buy? See, here's the thing though: is in Barclays Center, they put too much emphasis on the car. I feel like, I mean, how soon before they start selling ticket packages in the car?
Don't you diss the best mascot in hockey? I won't have any of this.
Vince G says, "Baby, come back."
The Barclays Center was never built with hockey in mind. That's the problem.
Well, and you bring up a good
and that's
point.
The problem with the Key Arena. That's the problem with the current arena in Seattle too. Is the Key Arena was never built with hockey in mind, and even if it's retrofitted, it's still not going to be great for hockey. Which is why they won't just shove a team in the Key Arena and then hope that they get a new deal for a new arena in Seattle.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is, it's. I remember there was an article a while back about the Barclays Center. Like, the biggest thing with Barclays Center is that the way their rink is set up, they're only set up to have, like temporary ice, whether it's like, I don't even know, like a Disney or a, frozen or whatever they do on ice. I remember reading this article. It was like, they have PVC pipes for their cold water, and a full-time NHL arena needs metal pipes. And it's like,
oh yeah,
you have to, to do that. You either, the Islanders are stuck. They're damned if they do and damned if they don't, because if they tear up the cement to put in metal piping,
never happen.
They're going to have to find somewhere else to play. And then when they go back, there's going to be other crappy things that they think about. And if they don't do anything, then it's going to be the same crappy things they already complain about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I can't say they're in trouble. I mean, they're going to have to either find a new arena. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, there's no way that they can share MSG or something silly like that.
It's a shame. It's a shame the Izod Center closed in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I think they could have made it work there.
My goodness. Season tickets inside that Toyota.
I'm gonna be sitting in the back right seat for my season tickets.
Yeah. Shotgun season tickets. Riding shotgun on the season tickets. All right, guys. So I mean, there's not, we tried to do our best. There's not a ton to talk about, obviously. This is where we get to need your help, because obviously, like, I love doing this. I will come and find stupid things about hockey that I can talk about for an hour. But I don't know. Maybe it won't interest you. So my mission for you, should you choose to accept, is we just need some help trying to figure out what we're going to do for content. Last year, I know we did division previews. I don't know how people felt about those last year. I'm definitely open to doing them again. If there is something that you feel that we should be doing, this is time for you, the listeners, the watchers, the people that make this worth it, to let us know what we should be doing, because it's summer. It's July 27th. Arbitration's almost done. And then, everyone's losing. So it's up to you guys. If there's going to be shows, we need something to talk about. And I am counting on you, the listeners, the watchers, the beautiful people, to help us by telling us what you want us to talk about. Do you want division previews? Let us know. I'd be happy to fly through all the teams in the Pacific and break them down like we did last year. If there's something else you want us to talk about, let us know. From here on, that you are in control. We will be your personal hockey talking people. So it's on you guys.
AO says move the Islanders to Hawaii.
All right, let's do that. No travel problems there.
Could you imagine watching a Hawaii Islanders home game in the East Coast?
That'd be fantastic. Oh my God, what time would that even be on it?
Well, because you would probably... Well, I'm trying to think. If you wanted to satisfy the East Coast, you'd have to have it on at 7 Eastern time, which I believe half the year would be 1 o'clock Hawaiian time and then 2 o'clock the other half of the year.
Oh, geez. Rob's saying do division previews in September. Here's the problem with doing season previews in September. There is 8 teams to cover, and there's, we're not going to do 8 shows doing 8 shows in September is a lot. That's the problem.
Lori, who I believe Lori is a new fan, so if you are, welcome.
Yes, welcome.
She asks you, what do you look for in an ice arena to play hockey?
Something cheap. No, honestly, I will play hockey just about anywhere. Obviously you want the ice to be nice. But for here, indoors, all our indoor arenas are pretty up to par, so I can't really complain about any of them. They're the same price basically for any of our arenas. And the way that they do it here is basically you just rent the ice for an hour. So you get a bunch of buddies, you all throw in $10, and hopefully you have enough to cover the rink, or you kick in a little more. But I think I just like a good ice surface with a decent temperature. Obviously, when they do take the ice out for a little bit in the summer, but usually come end of August, they start putting in ice coming up. and they start putting ice back in, and I just want it to be cool. I don't want to die of heat playing hockey. Obviously, I don't want to dehydrate. So, and you don't want the ice to be soft. So I just want a nice hard ice surface. And then outdoors, I mean, outdoor rink kind of it is what it is. You want to obviously be as smooth as possible, but you appreciate it's outdoors, and it is what it is. I guess I'll never play SAP. You're right. I won't, because one, that's a long way to go to play some hockey, and my favorite ice to play on is probably at the SR Center, which is where the Greyhounds play. It's cool playing hockey in a actual arena. What brand do I use for my equipment? Oh, you know what? I haven't even banned my equipment forever. What do I have? I have I want to say I have Reebok skates that I love. I love my skates. They pump up a little bit so they fit my feet properly. It's nice. Trying to remember what my sticks are. I think my sticks are Ovechkin's, so whatever Ovechkin uses.
I think Ovechkin uses Easton.
Yes, my sticks are Easton, I think.
For me, it's a mix pretty much between Reebok and Bauer. Like my skates and my stick are Reebok, and then I think the rest of my equipment is Bauer.
I think my shin pads I cheaped out on. I'm not sure. Like I don't play very much anymore. And I played men's league for a couple of years, but I've never really played hardcore professional. I'm not very good. I don't skate very well. I know these things are things that I've not that I'm not supposed to say as a Canadian, but I don't skate very well at all. But I enjoy it. Do I play pond hockey? Not recently. But definitely have for sure. Growing up, I mean, when I was growing up, man, it was street hockey. Like, you played street hockey every night. You got off of school, you threw your bag in, you grabbed your gear. For me, I grabbed my pads because I played goal, and that was it, man. You played hockey until, yes, Elite Prospects gave Ian an F. Hockey's Future said that I was less than beer league. But yeah, no, I mean, we played street hockey like every night. Rain, shine, didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like that was me growing up, man. You came home, you grabbed your sticks, and like I said, I grabbed my pads, and I was a goalie, and I'm weird. So
yeah, it was the same thing here. I grew up in the Bay Area, and so there's not a whole lot of outdoor ice rinks, and the ones that are indoor are expensive. So it was a lot of street hockey, or like roller hockey was big too. And I mean, it still is big, but it was mainly the street hockey. I have me and siblings, and then friends. Obviously, it all get together and try not to beat the crap out of each other too much.
Felix asked me, what position do I play? Generally, I play goal. If I can. I mean, right now, I probably wouldn't to play goalie because I'm older and the body hurts after a lot, especially after playing goal. Like, I remember on ice, I generally play forward, just because I can't skate backwards. So playing defense is out. So I just, I basically just charge the goalie and say, oops, can't stop. Sorry. But there's been a couple times where I played, actually, I'll tell you a funny story. So something I can definitely tell you is, one time we played pickup a lot when we were playing men's league. We'd have some pickup games. And and there was 2 times. So the first time I did it, I couldn't move for like 2 days after. That's how tired I was. Like, I was just, because you play street hockey, right? Like, street hockey pads are like styrofoam, like, they're foam. Real hockey pads, not so much. I also learned another important lesson. One time I was playing goal and I did not have a goaltender's cup. So I just wore my normal cup. Never wear your normal cup in goal. Ever. Ever. Let me tell you, that is I got hit square on, and my face turned green, and I thought I was going to throw up, and I had to just leave my face on the ice for 5 minutes to just be alive. So never, ever wear a player's cup as a goalie. wear the goalie cup. Lessons learned.
And for me, I play center solely because I'm over 6 feet tall and have a big frame.
There you go. You see, I have to prove that I can't play, and I do that very well. And Jerk has, that I can play and I can't. And then Jerk just gets to play because he has to prove that he can't because he's a big guy and I'm a small guy. It's not right.
Yep, that's how it goes. You have to be 6'1".
Damn it. All right, guys. This is fun. Yes, Ian, what's a jock? Well, what's a goalie jock is the question for me, because apparently I did not know. And I was like, whatever, I can wear my normal cup, right? Big deal. Yeah. Jerk would not go top shelf. I'd poke check him long before he even got in. He was like, bang, done. Massive glove save.
That's very possible. That's actually very possible, because I know for me, like when I'm going down Main Street, even though I'm not very good, I like to, pull a move, and usually I get poke checked or the puck will roll off my stick.
I very much like my poke check. I have a few like moves, like, because I don't like, again, I'm used to playing like just on like normal, like just floor hockey, street hockey, whatever. So being on skates is weird for me because I can't move around as nimbly as I can. But like I know, so when I was younger, I was in cadets, and I backstopped our team to like 3 straight championships. It was pretty awesome.
Oh damn!
Yeah, there you go. So that's my claim to fame.
My claim to fame is that I got a concussion while playing roller hockey and didn't have any long-term issues. That's my claim to fame.
There you go. Do I rage as hard as sometimes? I do not have a cool hockey nickname. I'm, it's just like it's like any other guy. So like my last name's Reed, obviously. So a lot of I guess my hockey nickname's Reader, right? Because you just add ER to whatever person's name, and that's your name, right? So it's just Reader.
You don't want to add ER to Jerk, but
see, but yeah, I don't know what we would do for you, Jerk. That's true.
I like well, Laurel says jerky. I like that.
Yeah, jerky, that would make sense. Yep. That works.
Or
works.
if you want to get really technical, hockey jerk HJ and then J, you can just call me J.
Yeah, that's true. Jerker. Oh my goodness. All right. We should probably get out of here though, because now we're just like talking just nothing. Which is fine, but I mean, these people have things that they probably want to get to, and hockey or jerk. All right. So, like I said, content from here on, let me know, DM me what you want to hear. Cause like, again, division previews, we got 8 teams to get through. I really, I probably, we're going to try and keep up with a week, on a weekly thing here, I think. So if you want division previews, let me know. If you have a topic that you think that you think would make an interesting conversation that we could have for, an hour, let me know. I mean, anything that you guys want to have us talk about, now's the time. If you have like hockey questions you want answered, this is the time to really do all that stuff, because I'm just dying to find things to fill content with from this point on. You can also, obviously, I mean, everyone that's watching right now, obviously, is probably subscribed, but for the benefit of those possibly listening on the audio stream, make sure that you come to YouTube, look up Teal Tinted Glasses, hit the subscribe button. If you are watching and you're not on our audio feed yet, look up Teal Tinted Glasses on iTunes. You will find it there now very easily. Everything's all sorted out. So definitely hit that up. Hit up tealtintedglasses.com. That's our new website, and we'll be doing stuff there. And we also have a Facebook group that you can get to from our thing too. Where when we did this with when I did Teal Tinted Glasses, the original version with Wendell and Rocket, we had a little Facebook group, and there used to be some good hockey talk there. I'd like to kind of get back to that, so definitely if you aren't in that group, hey, just hit the join button, and I'm sure I will recognize your name and add you without any hassle. Other than that though, Jerk, any final thoughts?
Final thought for me. Just want to, plug my stuff as usual. Follow me at hockey_jerk. Don't want to, spill too much, obviously, but just keep your eyes on my Twitter in the next, I don't know, days, week, or whatever. Some little cool kind of thing that I did will be dropping soon, and I'm excited about it. So definitely keep your eyes on that.
Yep, definitely do that. You can find me at Ian Blogs Hockey. I will probably writing something soon on tealtintedglasses.com because I feel like I'm due to write something. I just haven't decided what I want to write yet. Other than that, I'm always ready to talk hockey. I hate baseball. I hate football. I hate the world. So if you're looking for like that last person that wants to talk hockey while everyone else is being like, baseball's awesome. 49ers. No, not me. I'll talk hockey. Come find me. I'm lonely. All right, guys. This has been a blast. We will see you next week. One quick question, my lawyer here. Do they need to change anything around the goalie net size, pad size? I think pads could be a little leaner, but if you're going to keep making the pad smaller, maybe you need to reduce some of the flex from those sticks. Aside from that, I got to get out of here. Ciao.